Your dad's in the meeting. Your dad's the only one with a camera on.
Very happy that you threw the mute all button on there, Jason.
Yeah, I had to.
Good timing. Good timing.
Was it a bad thing or a good thing?
No, good thing, because not everyone is a savant with the Zoom calls, and they end up speaking up in the background and we hear stuff we're not supposed to.
It's recording, just letting one person join. All right, I think we are good to go.
And Shelina, you're comfortable with us sharing the recording of the Zoom call, I'm assuming?
Yeah, absolutely. Go for it.
Sounds good. Yeah, I just got a surplus of text messages, all naturally at 2:05 here. So lots of kids that aren't going to be able to jump on. So we'll send that out for them after.
Yeah, no, everyone has busy schedules. All good.
All right, guys, we're going to get started. First of all, thank you for joining us today. My name is Jason King. I'm an athletic representative for soccer for Hudson Athletic Recruiting, primarily based in Ontario. We have a lovely young lady with us today, captain of Tottenham Hotspur's Women's Super League side, member of Team Canada, a smiling assassin. She is a great defender, and don't let that smile fool you, because she will put you on your backside if you try and get past her. But we do have Shelina Zadorsky with us today, giving up her time. It's at 9 o'clock at night there in the UK. So I'm going to let Shelina, I'm going to throw it over to Shelina, and she is going to give a little spiel about herself, and then I will get into some questions with Shelina. And then at the end of today, I will open it up to Q&A to all the student athletes that we have on Zoom with us today. If you kindly would like to put your name in the chat box, and then at the end of the Q&A, I will read down the list and I'll ask yourself to unmute, and you can ask Shelina your question. So without further ado, Shelina, go for it.
No, thank you, Jason. And thank you everyone for joining today. No, it's an honor to speak with you. I know you're all busy and you have crazy lives as student athletes, and I've been there, done that. So I know what it's like. But yeah, I'm Shelina, like Jason said. I'm a professional footballer, and I've grown up in Canada, and I played youth soccer in Kitchener Spirit for Kitchener Spirit in Kitchener, and then I moved to London, Ontario, and played football there. And then I found my way into Michigan, and that's where I got a full scholarship there. I played for the Wolverines for 4 years and got my education. And then I went on to play professionally in the US, in Australia, in Sweden, and now I've found myself in the UK, and I'm loving every minute of it. And throughout my career, I worked my way through Canada's youth system, and I finally made the national team in 2015. And I went on to play in the 2016 Rio Olympics and the 2019 Women's World Cup. And now I'm prepping for the Olympic Games this summer. So yeah, it's been a crazy ride. And I know a lot of you are aspiring professional athletes, or you're working in school very hard. So I'm just excited to be here, speak with you, hopefully connect with you and answer any questions you might have.
Thanks, Shelina. Yeah, so Shelina is going to talk to us a little bit about, the college pathway system and getting into college, what it's like to be recruited. She's going to talk to us a typical day in the life of, and then about professional football, obtaining that degree, and what doors are or can be opened for you once you leave college or university. I'll get straight into it. Simple question to kick off. What drew you to soccer? I mean, there's hundreds of sports in the world. Why soccer or football?
Yeah, I know. Whenever I speak to people in North America, I revert back to saying soccer, but for the most part, I'm all football. So if I say football, obviously referring to the soccer ball. But I kind of followed in my older sister's footsteps, and they had always played football growing up. And I quickly fell in love with it. By age 4, I was running around with all the boys. And yeah, I was just drawn to the teamwork of it, but also just like putting your full effort into basically chasing the ball all over the field. So I fell in love with it and really stuck with football mainly throughout my whole life.
Nice. Okay, so in terms of, let's say, kickstarting your representative career, was it your local clubs at Kitchener Spirit or the Lynx, or did they start to notice you at a younger age, or as a late bloomer, when you went to play at London Galaxy or at North London? Where did they start to recognize your talent?
Yeah, so I always credit amazing coaches I had, even at such a young age. And so I grew up in Kitchener, and I started playing with the Kitchener Spirit, and it was just my local club. And I had a coach named Joel there, and he really saw that passion and kind of fire in me from a young age. And so he fostered that and really encouraged me to continue with it. And funny enough, he always said like I would end up playing football. And I don't know how he saw it at that age, but I think it was just how competitive I was and how driven I was at a young age. And so from there, I kind of kept playing club level. And then eventually that put me in an opportunity to get seen by Team Ontario in our provincial program. And that's kind of where I made that step to start growing in that sense.
Okay, amazing. Now here's one. Were you always a defender, or did coach just say, go at the back? Like, how did you get drawn into playing in the defense?
No, I think, so many footballers love to score goals and love to, be the star of the show. But I started actually on the left wing, and I would love to like whip crosses in and run down the line. And then I found myself at left back as I got a bit older. And then it wasn't until my college career that we had an opening in our back line. And my coach at the time, Greg Ryan, he kind of saw I was like a leader on the field. I communicated a lot, and he thought I was a great defender. So he trained me and it was simply because we lost our center back because she had graduated. And so I tried that, I believe, my sophomore year at Michigan, and it stuck. And that's where I got noticed for Team Canada.
Sorry, I was on mute. So now that you get noticed, you're at the stage now where you've been noticed, and you are, as you said, repping Canada. You're at the youth side at the age of 14. Was it then you thought to yourself, okay, maybe I've got something here. Maybe I have some given talent?
It's funny when I look back at that age, I did it because I loved it, and I didn't really know where it would lead me when I was that young. But I had that competitiveness and that drive to keep getting better and better. And so I always surrounded myself with players and coaches that had that same drive. And it kind of just like doors opened, opportunities came about, and I kind of just took every opportunity that was presented and wasn't afraid to kind of just give my all, not knowing what would happen. And it really wasn't until until I was recruited to Michigan. And then I thought, wow, like what an opportunity to get my education and continue playing football.
Thank you. We skip forward a couple of years. So 2008. Yeah, 2008. You were 16 years of age, so you're still younger than what you are now, which is probably, feels like a lifetime. You were playing in the 17s CONCACAF side. Then the 17s World Cup squad in New Zealand, over where I'm from. Did you experience any pressure going into a squad with a lot of senior players? Did you feel any pressure, if any?
Yeah, actually, when I was younger, I put a lot of pressure on myself as well. And so it's funny looking back and this might sound a bit harsh, but I think I could have enjoyed those experiences more if I was more present and less worried about mistakes. But I think that's a part of being an athlete and growing in your mental capacity and your mental awareness and strength. And I think when I was younger, I really placed a lot of meaning on mistakes, and I was nervous and all those natural feelings. But I wouldn't change those experiences. I think I needed to go through them at the time, and maybe I was a bit too hard on myself, but it's kind of got me where I am today. And I'm able to kind of mistakes now, I don't put meaning on them. I just continue with the game of football and kind of focus on my next action. So I think at that time, yeah, the pressure was mainly for myself.
Do you think it was undue pressure? Like if you look back now, do you think really what was I stressing about?
Oh, 100%. Yeah. Like you're 16 playing in a World Cup, enjoy it, have fun. You're flying to New Zealand to play in front of, 13,000 fans, and you're 16. Like you shouldn't feel the weight of the world on your shoulders. But I think that was just, that's just my personality. And I think at that time, that's just how it felt. So I've learned from that. And I think I'm able to be a bit more present and enjoy things now.
Okay, so at this stage, you're on the big scene now with Team Canada, and you were at that age, like a lot of our students online here. Was this the age that you were now on the radar for a lot of the colleges and universities? Were people sort of were you being sought after?
Yeah, so I guess much like everyone on this call, about 16, 17. For me, that was, I would say, I mean, now it seems like it's even earlier. If I'm hearing correctly, people are recruited much earlier than I was. So I think that, obviously you guys on this call would probably experience that and know that better than I would now. But for me, it was, I believe I was in grade 11 when I started getting talks of, okay, what are we going to do for college? And, Penn State were interested in you, or Louisville. And then when I played in the New Zealand World Cup, that was when I was recruited by Greg Ryan to visit Michigan, and he really wanted me to come to Michigan. And then I really don't think I committed till grade 12, but I know that's quite late now. So obviously things have changed.
Okay, so yeah, you're saying, you got drafted, you got recruited a little later. Yeah, grade 9, grade 10, these kids now are being sought after. If they've got that talent and that they're at that skill level, yeah, they'll get noticed very quickly. Was it overwhelming being so young, with all these schools sort of wanting you to put pen to paper and say, hey, come over here, come with us, this is what we have to offer? Was it overwhelming for someone so young?
I think I was a little bit ignorant in the process. And I think it's great what you guys are doing in providing people, I guess, with resources to chat about these things. Because as a Canadian, I felt I didn't know much about the US college system. And I didn't really know much about these big schools, or what to look for in a program, or what really mattered in your 4 years of not only getting your education, but committing your life to playing a sport for this university. So I felt like I was a little bit in over my head, but I kind of just took it in stride, and really, I'm glad I went and visited multiple places. I talked to a lot of friends, and it was awesome to have a fellow Canadian play for the Michigan football team as well. So I felt lucky I had kind of a sense of home as well. But yeah, it definitely can be overwhelming. But I think the more people you talk to, the more mentors, the more people who've gone through it, that can just only help.
Okay, so you touched on the recruitment part there, and you said you didn't know much about the whole process. So did you do a lot of research? You said you spoke to a friend that you went there. Did you do a lot of research before choosing Michigan? Like, did you know it was going to be Division I? Did you know you were going to play in America? It was just a matter of where?
Yeah, so for me, it was kind of a natural pathway for female footballers in Canada who were shooting for the national level. It seemed like most of those girls went to the US, got full scholarships, and kind of pursued that opportunity. But now I know there are options within Canada which are also great opportunities. And one of my closest mentors is actually Shane Campbell, and he's a coach, the women's coach at Guelph. And so he's a college coach, and he's awesome. And I know there are opportunities within Canada that are great too. But for me, I kind of had my eyes set on going to the US, going to a Division I school, going to a big university, and that was kind of what I had my eyes set on.
Okay, so for those that joined late and don't know, you did go to University of Michigan. Go Blue, as you would say.
Go Blue.
Go Blue. What was your journey like there? Like from day one, walking into Michigan U all the way until, tossing your hat up in the air and graduating. What was that experience, that 4-year journey like for you? I mean, you can summarize it.
Yeah, no, I mean, I honestly, there's something crazy about playing for a university, because there's just this sense of pride, like you're part of such a, amazing, I guess, massive family where everyone roots for every Michigan sport team. Everyone has so much pride to wear like maize and blue, and it's just such a it was such a monumental time in my life, and I encourage it for sure, because those 4 years I grew so much as a player, I grew so much as a person, have some of my best friends. And I personally loved being a part of a massive university. For me, that was great. I know some people might look to go somewhere that's a bit smaller and that fits their personality. But for me, I was social, like very social. I wanted to kind of meet a ton of new people, challenge myself in academics. And so for me, like, I can't say enough good things about Michigan. Even to this day, like, I mean, I feel bad, but our basketball team lost yesterday, and you still carry that Michigan pride with you, even when you're long.
Just bear with her. She's probably just reconnecting. Yeah, got you back. You there?
Perfect.
Amazing.
Yes.
Okay. Anything else to add to that? After I think the last thing we heard was Michigan losing last night.
Oh no, I mean, no, just for me, it's just all positive things about Michigan. I really enjoyed the experience, and I'm excited for everyone on this call to, find their own path and have those amazing 4 years ahead of them.
Yeah, because ultimately that's what it is, right? It's that right fit, it's that right balance of finding what is right for you. You don't necessarily have to copy your best friend or go where mum and dad, want you to go. It's where you feel comfortable, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. And I'm glad I visited and kind of got a feel for the coach, because that's a big part of your life as well. And I talked to a few past players, and just the whole vibe of the campus even. I loved everything.
Okay. So we are talking about university now. What advice can you give the athletes that we have online with us today about balancing their academics and their sport? Because going in on a scholarship there is pressure. It is hard. And, there's all that time for training. There's all that time for studying. There's things to do in between as well. How would you tell these kids right now the best way to navigate that balance?
Yeah, I mean, I think time management is, I guess, a practice skill, but everyone on this call to get to where they are now already have been practicing that skill and clearly have developed ways to excel in sport, excel academically. So I'd say it's nothing new. It's just maybe a bit more ramped up in a college, I guess, experience. And for me, one of the biggest things was using all of the resources at hand. So at Michigan, they had tutors, they had study groups, they had an athletic study center where everything was just, right there at your fingertips. So for me, it was using the resources and the spaces available to get help if I needed help. My econ class just about killed me. So I needed, extra help with that. Even going there with a friend, and then you both study. So yeah, I won't lie. Like it is a hard work, 100%. And, but I think that's what prepares you for after college too. So yeah, it's definitely a good challenge. And I think if you made it to this point, you're definitely up for the challenge.
So to quickly summarize on that, you get out of it what you put in.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. And, I worked hard. I still managed to have a social life. Sometimes I, managed to excel on the field as well. And maybe your first year, you won't get all of those balances right, but you keep learning as you go as well. And as long as you have to put in your best effort, and you might make some mistakes, but you don't beat yourself up. And then you just learn, like, okay, now I need to dedicate 2 hours this night, or I need to not go out with my friends on this Sunday because, I need to be ready for Monday. So you just learn as you go. And yeah, you definitely get to enjoy it. But like anything, there will be stressful times, but I think it's all part of it.
That's definitely great advice for all the young ones out there listening, because I'm sure they'll resonate. Yeah, they'll definitely need that. And I will talk about advice now quickly. And COVID, obviously, can't hide away from it. One thing a lot of people in the sports world are starting to hear is that, student athletes aren't really sure if their sport's ever going to go back, when it's going to go back. They've had such a long break from playing sport. Some of these students may have lost a passion, may have lost an interest for sport. They just don't know where they stand in terms of skill level anymore. Do you have any advice that might be useful in times like this for these students that could help them better understand what it is they should do? I mean, it's different for everyone, but yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's trying times for everyone. And I think, obviously being an athlete myself, I've been affected by it. I'll give a quick example. I was sort of stuck in Orlando for 3 months, not knowing if we were going to start the season, not knowing what was happening with our league, not able to train with any of my teammates, kind of on my own there without family, so it was an interesting experience. But I think I am a very resourceful person, as I'm sure a lot of you on this call are. And if you really love something, you kind of keep fighting for it. And so I did what I could do. I had bike workouts I did. I was running outside. I was, getting my individual touches on the ball. And then I was also connecting with others. I think that's the biggest things in these times. You can't do it on your own. And so I guess my advice would be to connect with others who are like-minded with you. So if you have a friend who's pursuing the same sport, if family member who can help you and support you, I think we all need help in these times. And so one of the big things our Canadian national team did was our strength and conditioning coach led Zoom workouts. And so our whole team would log on, and I know everyone's, no pun intended, sick of Zoom, but it's just, it's a fun way to actually still see people, and we still worked out together. And, you got to be creative in these times, and maybe it does give you time to reflect and figure out what you really want. And I don't think that's a bad thing either.
No, I mean, and a lot of these students that we have on 14, 15, 16, 17, they got a lot of other things to deal with in their lives, but this, they got to prioritize what's most important to them. So thank you for that. Sticking with advice, what's the best piece of advice you've been given, whether it be from mum, who I know is your biggest supporter in the world? It can be related to soccer, it can be related to anything, but yeah, what's the best piece of advice you've been given?
Oh, good question. You know what? I mean, it's hard to narrow down because I am an advice seeker. I actually love learning from people. So I love learning from coaches, from, teammates. And so I'm always trying to pick up people's wisdom gold bits that I can steal. But I guess one of the things that I would tell my younger self is to not worry about what other people think so much. And that can be in sport or in life. But I think when it comes down to it, when you are able to find confidence in yourself and really just be able to go after what you want without thoughts about worrying what other people think, it just clears your brain and you're able to really perform and focus on yourself. And actually, it was my grandma who said, people don't care as much as you think. So you wasting time worrying about what other people think, they really don't care about you or what's happening as much as you think. And I think that's just a humbling thing to remember, that you doing your best is just going to benefit you, and it really doesn't matter what other people think. So I think comparison isn't always a healthy thing. And I just say, you know what, keep trying to be a better you each day.
And listen to grandma.
Yeah, and maybe listen to grandma, because they have, you know, they have some wisdom.
Yeah, grandmas, they've been around for a while. They know best, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so after taking all this advice on board throughout your career and maturing throughout university, what is it that made you want to pursue that career as a pro player?
Yeah, and so I guess once I came towards graduation at Michigan, the NWSL, which is the National Women's Soccer League in the US, they had, obviously a couple leagues had folded, unfortunately, but they were coming back and it was seeming promising. And so in my final year at Michigan, I went into the draft and I didn't get drafted. And so I was kind of at this crossroads, like, wow, I'm graduating. I'm not going to play in the US League. And I hadn't made the jump from our U20 team to our full senior team. So it was a really reflective time where I was like, all right, do I want to go back to Canada and work? Do I want to keep playing? And I just had some fire in me that knew I needed to go for it. And I needed to see where it would take me. And maybe it wouldn't take me to the national team. Maybe it would. Maybe, you know, maybe I would play in the NWSL or not. But I did a lot of homework and reached out to an agent and, you know, talked to people who had played abroad. And I packed my bags and I went to Australia. And my first professional experience was with Perth Glory. And from there, I continued to do the same thing. So after that season, I said, I'm not done. Like, I'm still loving football. I packed my bags up again and I went to Sweden and played my second professional year there in the top division. And then I was called back into Team Canada. And so it obviously wasn't a perfect journey, but that's how mine unfolded. And no one on this call will have the same journey. And that's kind of exciting because you'll all have different paths. You'll all have different ups and downs. But if you really want something, I would just say go for it, because then you can look back and you won't have any regrets, whether it comes to fruition or not. I think you'll know and be happy with yourself for putting it all out there.
Yeah, I mean, as you said, no one's journey is ever the same. You know, I like to think of it as catching a flight across the other side of the world. You can either go direct or you can make many different pit stops along the way. You know, everyone's journey is different. And as long as you all end up in the spot that you want, then, you know, it's been a great path so far. You know, you said you graduated with a degree in psychology. Obviously, you know, you said you went and played football straight after college. It was never a choice, was it? You were always going to go play football.
I don't think it really clicked for me. Like I had that in mind, but I don't think it clicked till a bit later when I got closer to graduation and I was really like, I want to play professionally. And I knew it was there, but you know, it takes some time to really kind of sink in and go for it. And so that's kind of how it happened for me.
You said you went from, you know, playing for Perth Glory, and then you went over to Sweden, then you ventured over to the States again. What was the transition like from club to club, continent to country? You know, you went from different time zones all over the world. What was the tempo like? What was the atmosphere like? You know, I'm sure they were completely different. So how did each place, Australia, Sweden, you know, America, and now England, how did they all differ?
Yeah, no, I think there are definitely differences, especially on the football field. But I guess people are people. And that's what I love about this sport, is creating those relationships. And I've never been shy to create those relationships. So I think everywhere I went, I was able to meet new people and learn new things. And I really went in with an open mindset, and I'm really glad I did that. And I just kind of lived where my feet were, and I was really present in wherever I was. And even though I was a nomad, and to this day I'm still a nomad, I wouldn't change it, because it's like no day is the same. And I've been able to have all these experiences and, you know, earn a living in so many different places around the world. And for me, that's really exciting. So I think football wise, Perth was still becoming more and more professional. So at that time, we didn't train quite as much as I do now. And so that was kind of, an okay transition for me. And then in Sweden, their league has been, successful for a really long time. And so that was even more of a professional experience there. And they were really technical and good on the ball. And then when I came to the US, it was a very physical experience. And, people are fast, people are strong, like big in the weight room and very transitional in the football pitch. So, I mean, it's challenging as a defender, definitely in the US league. And now I find myself in England, which is a bit of a mix of both. Very tactical and really focused on, playing out of the back. They want to play good football. Not quite as focused on like fitness as in the US, but still a good balance here.
Okay, so definitely some differences between going to different countries and different teams. Change of pace now. I don't know if you keep a record of your stats, but you're coming up on 70 caps, I believe, or thereabouts, just into the 70 games for Team Canada. You just got named in the friendlies for Canada against Wales and England coming up next week. So congratulations on that.
Thank you.
Now, I know you played in the U17s. I know you played in the U20s. Do you yourself see yourself as a veteran of the side? Take away Miss Sinclair, who is a couple of years shy of 40. She is the ultimate veteran. Do you see yourself as a veteran of the side?
You know what? It comes to a point where you realize how much experience you actually do have. And so just even thinking about 70 games for Canada and just how many different games, how many different challenges, how many different teams and all that. I'm so grateful for all those opportunities. And I definitely do try and take on more of a leadership role in just how I communicate on and off the pitch. And I've learned so much from our veterans that I'm kind of on that bridgeway where I'm one of the players now who has a lot of experience, and there are a handful of others as well who are in the same boat as me. So it's kind of nice to have other people who have had, a similar amount of experience, and we're kind of like bridging that gap. And so I think it's been a pretty smooth transition because our veterans have always been such good leaders. I think my age group and others with the same experience we've benefited a lot from them and learned.
So that's a yes.
Yeah, I guess I am getting old.
No. Okay, so a two-parter here. How did it feel to get your first cap for Canada? That first presentation, the jersey ceremony where you get given the maple leaf. And what do you think has now put you in that position to have the ability to become such a prominent figure in the starting women's side?
Yeah, so I got my first cap for the senior team in 2013. And another challenging experience. I was so nervous. I could barely even speak at the time because I was in with the national team. I was like, oh no, am I going to be good enough? And so I played in a tournament and it was in China, and it was a challenging game. I got my first cap, and I don't think I enjoyed it as much as I should have. And that's just a learning experience for me because I think I was so nervous and so critical of myself, kind of like I had said. But so that experience happened, and I didn't make the national team again until 2 years later. So, that's a big kind of chunk of time that I needed to grow and learn and kind of reflect on how to get the best out of myself. And I gained that opportunity again in 2015, and I was ready to enjoy and also work hard. And so I kind of had been able to grow my mindset in that time.
Yeah, so it's like a little bit of an emotional roller coaster, so to speak, especially not making it for another couple of years. You have to go away, do some extra work on the side. And, you said you're also your biggest critic, like you're harsh on yourself. It's like you might have wondered, okay, is this it for me? Am I ever going to play for them again? And, then you get the call up 2 years later and you played, and now you're at 70 caps, as I said. Do you remember what it was like when you first walked out there for your first game in front of probably the biggest crowd that you've ever seen? What was that feeling?
So trying to think of the biggest. We've had some amazing crowds in Canada, and obviously at the 2019 World Cup, there were some awesome crowds in France too. But I think even our send-off match before Rio was like 35,000, and it was incredible. And it's funny, like I don't think I noticed the amount of people. I noticed I'm more like, I get nervous because I want my family to be proud. And so for me, it's awesome having my family come watch, but I also like, I always want to make them proud. And, lucky enough, like no matter what I do, they're still going to be proud of me because they're so sweet. But, I want to be the best I can be for them. And so for me, it's just awesome to see people supporting women's football and Canada getting behind it and fans and exposure and all those good things. So I think it's just positive, and it's so awesome playing with fans for sure.
Compared to what it is now, I can imagine it must be so weird and eerie.
Yeah, it's a bit bizarre. It's so quiet, I can hear myself too much.
I'm just going to go back to college very quickly, not touch on it too long, but I want to go into nutrition and diet, because a lot of the kids on here may not know a whole heap about nutrition and diet. How much does that impact your game now? What you eat? Like if I opened your fridge now, what does Shelina's diet look like? Whether it be getting ready for a game, post game, whether you're tapering off in the middle of the week, what is it for you?
Yeah, so I've always been like a quite healthy eater, but don't get me wrong, I love my sweets. So all of you on here who love chocolate, I am absolutely with you. But I think like I've always kind of looked at it in moderation. And now, as obviously I've gotten older, I've gotten even more information about it. And for me personally, like I'm plant-based, so I'm that's just what works for me. I was curious about 2-3 years ago, kind of more pescatarian now, to be fair, but I was curious, about that, and I gave it a go because I wanted to see how my body felt. And for me, I reacted really well to it, and just environmentally, I kind of like the vibe of that. So for me, I'm tons of veggies, tons of beans for protein, tons of like tofu. I love burritos. I love, anything along those lines. I'm there for it. But I mean, I don't hesitate, after a big match to have some pizza. So like, I still think you need some balance in there. But no, in terms of, more like macro and all the nutrients you need, I think it's so important to fuel yourself properly. And so when I have big days of training, I'll have a lot of carbs, especially before a game. I'll have a lot of, extra carbs and make sure I have like fuel for the game, because realistically your muscles need that glycogen to sprint and to work in a football match for 90 minutes. So I'm on a lot of teams where there's professional nutritionists, and you kind of, you learn as you go, but it is definitely a good area to focus on.
Amazing. So I stick with food just a little bit longer. I was a chef in my past life for 20 odd years before I gave it up to become an athletic rep here with Hudson. Was cooking for yourself on campus something new for you? Because I can tell you now, a lot of these kids may or may not know what is in store for them when they get to campus. It's no more instant noodles. It's no more, canned beans. They're going to have to start cooking for themselves. Did you find that a challenge, or were you, happy to start cooking when you're on campus?
Oh no, I found that a huge challenge. 100%. I think it's a little step into reality. Oh, I have to make my own food. I need to kind of, fend for myself and make extra time to make dinner, or, make breakfast the night before. Like what I started doing was making overnight oats. So I would just put oats in a container, and then I'd wake up, have those ready to go. So I think now there's so many resources online, on Instagram. I'm sure even on TikTok. I don't use TikTok, but I'm sure everyone on this call uses TikTok. I'm way too old for TikTok, but I love following my Instagram pages that have, recipes. And so I think things are very accessible. Like you could go on YouTube and watch and do a recipe with someone on YouTube. So I think it is easy to learn and try. But in the beginning, I had no idea. I was just like eating bowls of cereal, and then you learn like you need more than that, and you need to have a better diet. So it's like definitely a work in progress.
So you can't have Captain Crunch and Count
Yeah.
Chocula. Okay, gotcha. Okay,
Yeah.
make a note of that.
Yeah, no, not anymore, I promise.
So just last part with college here, and I know you touched on it briefly. I just want to go into it a bit more. A typical day at college, what did it look like? I mean, don't scare the athletes, don't frighten them all, but there are fun things you can do at college. There are clubs you can join up to. There is social lives. There's always time to party. But a typical day of you're playing Division 1. How many hours a day did you dedicate to training? How many hours a day for academics? How did it all add up?
Yeah, so there's different seasons throughout. So obviously fall season for me, that was when we were playing our games. And then there was a winter season, and then a spring season, and then a summer season. And so the training hours, they fluctuate throughout the year. But no, I won't lie, it was busy. So it depends on your coach, what training times you have. A lot of my friends trained early mornings, and then they went to class after that. But at Michigan, for instance, we would train in the afternoons. So I would wake up, have breakfast. I would go to my classes all throughout the day, make sure to have lunch in there, go right to training. And then depending on what time of the year it was, I might have a lift right after that. So it definitely was a lot of hours dedicated to training. And then obviously you still need to study. So it's definitely a lot, but I think if you embrace it and, you're doing it with your friends as well. So I think you have that support system automatically with the team. And so, you kind of learn, you get in routines. And then maybe another part of the year, you're traveling for games on the weekends. So it gets even more hectic. And you're having to organize classes where, you have to kind of cram them in Monday to Thursday because you might be traveling on Friday. So it's definitely an interesting experience, but as an athlete, you really do get set up with resources to succeed. So you just have to take advantage.
Yeah, I mean, I guess they're investing in you, so they want to set you up for success and get the best out of you as much as you want to get the best out of them. Do you see first year as the hardest, and as you go on, it just gets easier and easier because it's a routine now?
I would say, yeah. I guess it also depends on the program you're taking, because I know for some student athletes, first year was a bit more general, and then they got into, more of the intense kind of smaller classes, which may have been more challenging for their degree. So it can kind of vary. But in terms of the overall experience, like anything, when it's brand new, sometimes it can be overwhelming. So for me personally, I felt like I grew into, being a student athlete, and I got better and better at it. And I was able to, manage my time better. But yeah, I guess it all depends also what you're studying and how many classes you're taking. So it can vary, but like anything, you just get better with practice.
Time management is key. Yeah, we tell all of our kids, time management is very important. Couple more questions before we get into the end of it. Knowing what you know now about the process of recruitment, what you went through at college, diet, nutrition, your journey to the pros and playing for Team Canada, would you do it all the same again, or is there anything you would change?
Oh, tough question. I'm not a very regretful person. So I kind of feel that all the experiences I had, no matter, how hard some of them were, I think it led me to where I was supposed to be. And I wouldn't change a thing. I had my first cap, didn't get called back for 2 years, wasn't drafted right out of college, but ended up playing abroad for 2 years. So I think it's all about taking opportunities. And if a door closes, there's definitely another one opening. So it's kind of just that perspective, like, even if, you have your eyes set on a certain college, but that doesn't work out, just know that, roll with it and keep going, and you'll find another opportunity. And I think it's just having an open perspective that you're right where you're meant to be. So just keep enjoying that and giving it your all.
Okay, so further to that question, and I know you touched on this before about not being so harsh on yourself and listening to grandma, but is there any advice you would go back and give yourself 14 years ago and say, do this? Is there anything now that you've looked back on your whole career so far and go, okay, I could have done with that advice going forward?
I guess it kind of does come back to the funny grandma thing for me, because for me, the mental side of anything is so important. And so the mental side of football, the mental side of being a good student, if you don't feel comfortable in your own skin, and if you don't have confidence in yourself, and if if you feel like you're so scared of what other people think, I think that really is limiting. And it was limiting for me when I was younger. So I think I would just say to myself, it's like, you don't need to worry about what people think. Just be the nicest, best person you can be, and the hardest worker, and good things will come from that. So I think, yeah, I guess that critical side of myself, I think I could have flipped that to be a bit more positive in terms of my inner dialogue.
Okay, so so you're striving to be the best version of yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and we're gonna wrap it up. I got one more question for you, an easy, fun one, because what time is it there? It's almost 10 o'clock. Coffee, Netflix, pillow time. It's coming up. Any rituals, any habits, any sort of superstitions you have before training or before a game? I know a lot of athletes. Me personally, I put my right boot on last. But is there anything that you sort of have?
So I'm like, I don't know if this makes me boring, but I'm not that superstitious. Like, I really not. One of my biggest things is sleep. So if I have a big game, I need a good sleep. And that's really the thing that I need the most. And then really it's just, I connect with family, whether it's just quick texts, and then I have music and just kind of get in the zone. But for me, I'm not too superstitious, just sleep.
Okay, I'm going to wrap it up there. It's been amazing listening to you shed some light on this whole experience for our student athletes. And I know that they are definitely going to take on board what you have said. I'm sure they've been taking notes. I'm sure they've been listening eagerly. It has been a pleasure to talk to you. Much success for you going forward, Team Canada, going forward the Spurs, the friendlies coming up. So thank you again for your time. Before we nip it in the backside, though, I am going to open it up to our students. Anyone that's online that would like to ask Shelina a question, if you guys could just raise your hand, the emoji hand in your Zoom box, and I'll unmute you one by one, and you guys can ask Shelina a question, and then you guys can feel free to leave the Zoom. Yes.
Hi. I just had a question about when you were being recruited for universities, because you said that you were getting scouted and lots of people were interested in you. What about you stood out to them that made them want you on their team?
Hi, that is an awesome question. I think, I guess one of my qualities was, I would say I was quite good with both feet. So I could kind of play on the left or the right side, and that's kind of been a good attribute of mine. And not everyone has that left foot in them. So I think that was a big thing. And then I would say additionally, just my work rate, I'm up and down the field, and I want to be the fittest player out there. So that's another thing. And also I think a big thing is your attitude. And you might not think that coaches notice those things or that they talk to other coaches, but having a good attitude is massive, because people look for that, and they want to have successful and good attitudes on their squad. So I guess those are some of the keys for me.
Thank you.
Anybody else? We have 30 odd students online, including a couple of reps from Hudson. If you do want to come on, just introduce yourself to Shelina and ask away. She's full of information. So now's your chance to speak to somebody that's played at the elite level and has gone on and done a lot with her career. So if you want to use her for her information, she is here.
Hi, Shelina. Thank you for taking the time to share your journey with us. Kudos to the plant-based. I give you props for that, because a lot of athletes don't think it's possible when really it is. Just a quick question, and just really with some of the talent that you've played against being a defender, What kind of makes those Christine Sinclairs, the Alex Morgans of the world, pardon my greenhorn soccer knowledge, but what kind of separates them? What kind of, for Christine, what kind of allows her to carry on her career so long? Can you maybe speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, cheers to the plant-based. I think it's a cool transition to make, and I like, it's not for everyone, but for me, just environmentally, and then how I felt is kind of why I've stuck with it. And then I guess moving to these incredible stars that you have mentioned, and just the consistency that the players like Alex Morgan, like Christine Sinclair, time and time bring to the field, and for how many years they've done it, and for all the goals. I'm just going to shout out Christine Sinclair. She has the most international goals, male or female, and it's an honor to work with her. And I think, and obviously I just played with Alex Morgan at Spurs and at Orlando, but it's their professionalism. Like, these players show up to, no matter the day, no matter the session, no matter if they don't feel their best, no matter what's happening in their lives, they show up as a true professional. And I think it's seen in all the little actions they take. They show up early, they do prehab exercises to get their bodies ready for every session. They do extra mobility, they do all the extra little things that add up. I was roommates with Christine on the road one trip, and she's doing extra stretching with like a whole, personalized thing set up for her body. She's, they're using all the hours of the day to be better. And I think, it's just their mindset that they constantly want to progress. And yeah, I've learned a lot from them. And I think it's doing all the little things that not everyone sees. It's all the preparation that leads up to, scoring that many goals.
Yeah, thank you. I think with age too, you got to get your body a little bit more prepared as well.
Every recovery tools helps.
That's great. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
Anybody else? Any questions? All these young athletes on here, no questions? Blake, you got another one?
Maybe, yeah. What's it like to win an Olympic medal? Like, kind of walk us through that process. I mean, maybe the feeling more than anything, but obviously that's a big accomplishment. Not a lot of people get to do that. So yeah, what's it like?
Oh no, good one. No, I think it's definitely like grateful is the word that comes to mind, obviously, and not to be cliche, but it really is, because when you think about how many people get that opportunity and how many, footballers there are out there, but I think you think about all the people who've helped you along your journey, and you think about your parents driving you to training how many times a week. You think about all the hours you've, chosen to play your sport rather than, go be with friends when you can't do it. And I think, yeah, it's definitely very satisfying. And just, yeah, it's one of my favorite memories as a footballer, being able to get Canada on the podium with that group of players. And yeah, you'll never forget it. So the feeling it's quite surreal, but at the same time, it kind of makes you want more. And so that's where we're back, and we want to change the color of the medal. And that's kind of our goal for Tokyo, is to change the color of the medal. So yeah, it's exciting.
And good luck. It's possible.
Thank you. So. Thanks.
Hey, I was just wondering, were there any main challenges when traveling overseas to play?
Hi. I think it depends. I guess I'm quite a family person, and I love speaking to my family. So that's definitely an adjustment. Far away from your family. Obviously in Australia, the time zone, everything's a bit different. So I think it's, having that confidence and that openness to kind of live on your own and create, close relationships where you are. So a big thing is, I guess my advice would be, wherever you go, definitely create close ties and spend time with people, because you will miss your family inevitably. But at the same time, I think immerse yourself in wherever you're going, because it's like, it's a precious amount of time that you might be there. So really try and get the most out of it. And then challenges, I guess, language, depends where you're going, culture, food, there's a lot of differences, but you know, if you go in with an open mind, they can kind of become fun challenges.
Thank you. I have one for you. To be an accomplished athlete or student athlete at college, university level, you've got to be good at studying. You know, you've got to be good in the books. Did you find that easier when you were studying gameplay, when you were studying your opposition, when you were studying the fields that you were going to and your opponents? Did you find that an easier transition just to focus on that?
I always I'm a bit of a nerd for the game, so I actually love that part of it. And I've had a lot of coaches who've kind of helped me, you know, look back at how I play, and I watch most of my games back and kind of analyze my movements and my decision making. So I love studying the game because I think it just gives you a different perspective. And you know, when I watch my games back, I'm like, okay, what was I thinking here? Why can't I see this pass? Why did I make that decision? And am I noticing the pressure on me? So like, I love all those little details of analyzing my game. And I think it makes you, you know, you come back more prepared for the next. So I actually like studying those things. I don't know if everyone else does, but personally, I definitely like studying that better than some of my psychology books, to be honest.
So following to that, would you study someone like Marta, you know, who's an exceptional player for Brazil and has been for a very long time? Is she someone that you just can't study because she's so different every game, or can you sort of pick up on what she will do at certain points in a game?
No, definitely. I think every player has some tendencies, and you know, for Marta, it's her left foot, and she wants to be on that. She wants to be dribbling and striking with her left foot. So I think it's, for a defender, it's being aware of, obviously, if they have a dominant foot, keep them away from it if you can. But then it's also not diving in for players like that, because they will blow by you if you dive in and you get yourself off balance. So we definitely spend a lot of time looking at team structure and then looking at highlighting individuals like Marta, like Alex Morgan, you know, and their threats. So I definitely go into the game as prepared as I can be.
I have a question. Thank you for that. I have a question from Avery Baker. Avery, do you want to ask it, or would you like me to?
I can ask it.
Go for it.
What type of, when you were younger, what type of like workouts and like strength building did you do?
Yeah, no, great question, Avery. I was really lucky because when I was younger, at high school level, I started working with Maria Mountain, who is she's a personal trainer in London, Ontario. And I really was able to kind of analyze all my movements, where I had, you know, if my left side was weaker than my right side. And, you know, we did all base tests to see where I was at. And then we kind of built up my strength, my power. We went through different phases, and I really started to learn about how to get the most out of my body in that sense, and how to enjoy, you know, being in the gym and training. I've always been a runner. I love running. So when I was younger, I would do, you know, a lot of interval training. I love like 30 seconds on, 30 seconds off. And then as I've gotten a bit older, I've been really working on my speed as well. So it's those repeated sprints, which are really great as well. And then in the off season, if you want to challenge yourself, you can do that on hills, which is great on the legs. But no, I think it's working with professionals to help you really tailor it to your body, and to more position specific as well. Like as a center back, I need to be a bit stronger. Aerially, I need to be able to jump higher. So it's really analyzing where you want to go with your game, and then working with professionals is the best way I've gotten.
That's really interesting, because it isn't Maria Mountain. Like, she's from London. I'm from Windsor, Ontario. She's very hockey specific. At least I thought she was.
No, so she is.
It brings me back.
I love her. But the thing is, she's so educated on how the body works and how to get the most, you know, out of like powerful athletes. And so she's been able to kind of tailor my program to my body and help me get the most out of it in that sense. But she's awesome. I really like her.
Mr. Dwight Hudson.
Hi, Shelina. Thanks again for sharing your time with us today and providing a lot of insight into your journey. Really appreciate it.
Yeah,
One thing
absolutely.
one thing I always ask student athletes who have been through the process is, I know it's hard to choose just one, but what's your favorite part of the whole collegiate experience?
Wow. Dwight, that's a tough one.
I won't hold you to one if that's too much.
For me, it's all about the people around me. And so I think one of my, most meaningful experiences is just the bonds I've created and the teamwork that went into making it to an Elite Eight, and just those memories with your teammates, with coaches, and being a part of something that's not just about you. I think that's what you remember. You kind of remember working with, if you're an individual sport athlete, it might be a bit different but for me, like, I love working within a team. So you remember like those team wins, those team celebrations after like a goal in the 90th minute. And so, yeah, I would say just the bonds you create with your teammates. And I think that's what I take with me.
Thank you. That's awesome.
No problem.
Abby, you have a question for Shelina? Abby? Oh shit, her mic doesn't work. I'll ask
Oh,
it
I can
for her.
read
Oh,
it.
you can read it? You got it?
Yeah. How do you stay motivated to keep pushing yourself to become a better player, especially with COVID? How did you stay motivated to continue training? I think that, that's a great question, especially in times like this. I think it comes back to my personality, and I am kind of obsessed with progression and love to see myself get better every day. So it is a bit of a mindset to want to push yourself. But with that being said, like, I always, surround myself with people who are like-minded. And so I think then you can bounce off each other. And if you're having an off day, you can be like, you know what, you got this today. Like, Abby, you can do it. Let's go get our workout in. And so I think it's really important to connect with people in that sense to help keep you motivated. But it is also an intrinsic thing that you need to be able to cultivate for yourself, because when the time gets tough, like, you need to be able to dig deep and be like, no, I'm going to go get this workout in. I'm going to go get my touches against the wall. I'm going to do, some individual stuff. And then it's mixing it with the balance of, okay, today's a rest day. I can, kind of switch off and enjoy that. So just finding the balance. And I would definitely say use other people to help keep you motivated as well.
Thank you. I got a fun one for you. And I mean, I know when I played at a high level, I'm sure Blake did as well, and a lot of the parents, even Dwight when he was competing at a high level. When you come up against someone that you're friendly with, like your friends off the field or your former teammates at another club, I'm sure you have some time on there we can have a laugh, or when you're off the ball. How do you find that? How do you lift? I know the end goal is to win and to win the championship, but how do you, knowing that you're coming up against one of your good friends, how do you sort of overcome that little hurdle?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's such a fun part of it. I actually love it. I kind of switch into like pretty intense mode when I, start the game. And if it's a really good friend, you kind of give each other like the eyes, like, yeah, I see you. But it's more so after the game. I'll give, a friend like a big hug after the game, and you're still friends regardless of what happens on the pitch. But for me, I'm quite intense. So I'm not ready to have like chit chats really on the field. Like, I'll notice you and maybe give you a little smile if the ball's somewhere else, but then that's about it. Like, I'm not asking you how you are. It's not the time. So I think it's more if it's a really good friend, you'll text before the game and then like give each other a big hug after. But no, I'm definitely game face once we're in it. Yeah.
You got the Canadian flag behind you. Is that the red and the white?
No, it's just an ugly red painted wall, to be honest.
Anyone else? We're going to let Shelina go. If no one else has any questions, because as I said, it is getting late. It's just after 10 o'clock UK time, because they've flicked forward an hour because of daylight saving. So if no one has any more questions, please unmute. Thanks, Shelina. And if you have any questions in regards to anything, feel free to send myself or any of the Hudson reps a message. And Shelina, again, thank you so much for your time this evening. It's been great listening to your knowledge, the insights on college and what it takes to get there. I think a lot of the children, the student athletes online today have taken a lot out of this. I know myself, Blake, Dwight, Zach, and all the other representatives on here have as well. And I'm sure if there are some parents listening, now they know what it takes for their son or daughter to get into college. So thank you so very much.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate everyone taking the time. And yeah, absolutely. I enjoyed it and wish you all the best because you have exciting journeys ahead of you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Shelina.
Thank you very
No
much.
problem.
Thank you.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, no problem. I'm
That was-
glad it went well. I hope
That was
so.
amazing.